Auckland, which is where you're going to be staying next week. And that's we won the best new boutique hotel in the world.
Hello, my name is Renae Leith-Manos. Welcome to this podcast, Where To From Here, featuring conversations about luxury travel and how it's changing in every pocket of the globe.
Hello, I'm Ronnie Ronalde in Auckland, CPG Hotels, and I'm going to be talking with Renae on her fantastic podcast, and look forward to having a good talk.
Today we're going to Auckland in New Zealand to speak to Ronnie Ronalde from CPG Hotels. This is the largest privately owned hotel group in New Zealand, and I always love talking to people from privately owned groups because so much of the luxury hotel industry globally is just owned by very few companies and people. So it's always great to hear from people who've started from the ground up and who've somehow managed to stay there. CPG Hotels is owned by a family who left Singapore to relocate to New Zealand, but I'm sure that Ronnie is going to tell us a lot more about it. Ronnie, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you, Renae.
Now, talk us through CPG Hotels and who is the owner and what is the story of this company?
Well, the owners, the first part, they emigrated to New Zealand about 35 years ago as a family, and they bought one little motel out in the middle of Auckland there, and really the family today, they now have got upwards of 35 hotels in New Zealand, about 5 or 6 out in Fiji and the islands, and 5 in America. So it's been quite a lovely story, their success. And
what is their story, Ronnie? How did they get into hotels, and what brought them to New Zealand?
Well, they came here for a change in lifestyle. They came from Singapore, and really the father of the family wanted to try and get into real estate and ended up doing hotels, and really, that then got split into 2 parts. The family also own a lot of property in downtown Auckland, a lot of buildings, but their sort of love and passion is still the hotels.
Wow, which was their first one?
It was one out in Newmarket, Remuera, actually, and it was a small motel that actually is no longer there. But straight after that, they bought a second one in Green Lane, which was again, that same sort of area, and that was the first hotel that they bought, did up, and they still own it today, and it's on a Green Lane Suites.
Wow.
Yes, but about 9 years ago, the owners, particular Prakash Pandey, he's the main director of the hotel side, and he phoned me up and said, Ronnie, I normally have all my hotels marketed and managed by big brands like Accor or Marriott or these different big brands. He said, I want to run some of them myself in-house. And so that's when I joined Prakash and the family, and we set up CPG Hotels. And there 9 years ago, I had 5 hotels, and it sort of quickly moved up, and we were up to 14. And so he's got another 13, which are with Accor in Auckland,
right,
and Wellington, and all the big ones, that you'll see, and the Sofotels, the Soho, the Pullmans.
They're all his.
All his. It's right.
Wow. What a great story. And of course, you also have a personal family background in hotels. You grew up in Guernsey, but your father had a hotel, I believe?
Yeah, well, that's another big story. I mean, I could talk to you about it, but out of my father was a theatrical entertainer in the 50s. He was really famous, and he ended up, he had a house in London, and then he had another house north of London, his holiday weekend home, he sort of felt that the theatrical market in the late 50s, early 60s was starting to die. And so he sort of thought, how can I digress? And he ended up going to Guernsey and doing a concert there, and to actually have a little holiday. And so he did the concert, and on the way back to the airport, he said to the taxi driver, if you had any money, which hotel would you buy? Well, he took him in, and a month later, Dad owned the hotel. And he sold up in the UK and moved to Guernsey. Met my mum, who was the receptionist in the hotel. And,
what a gorgeous story!
That's right. She's Austrian. She's still alive, and she went there for the school holidays to work on reception. And Dad a year later married her, and that and she never went home. So out of it, it's sort of how I started off in the hotels. And Mum and Dad, they used to make us, as me and my two sisters, we always working in the hotel every school holidays to earn pocket money. And one day it's sweeping the drive, the next it was put the deck chairs out. My first job was bottling up the bar in the morning. And then I was about 10, 12 years old, and then I was a porter and a waiter, and it was silver service waiting in those times. And then I went to I say catering college, and a girlfriend of mine went to college in Blackpool at catering, and I thought that sounded like a good idea, so I went with her. And, but Dad pulled me out. I was about 18 or 19, and he said, look, you need to come back and help us run the hotel. And so that's what I did. Went back, and with Mum, we ran the hotel for about another 4 or 5 years. And
how many rooms was it, the hotel?
It was nearly 60 rooms. We used 150 guests, but there was a ballroom for 250 people. There was a big restaurant that again sat about 250 people. It was Guernsey's biggest hotel, 15 acres, swimming pool, tennis court, putting greens, and all the rest of it. And so that's where I got my grounding, to get into the hotels. And then I really didn't want to go into hotels. I wanted to be a sportsman, and that's all I really wanted to do. And it was the little story that I told you about when I got shot. It was an accident, and I was 22 years old, and
you're still in Guernsey at this point. You're still in Guernsey.
Dad had just sold the hotel, and we moved to the Isle of Man because we had a home there, and that's sort of near where Liverpool is, in between Liverpool and Ireland, in the Irish Channel there. And we moved there prior to emigrating to New Zealand as a family, and I went out the back of the house, and there was a river going past the house, and Dad said, could I go and cut the riverbanks, and trim it all back? We're going to sell the house. And I saw this rat run into a woodpile. And so I shouted to my sister's husband. I said, go and get me the gun, and I'll stand here and you shoot the rat. It's in the corner. Well, the rat ran past me and he shot me instead. And so I ended up in hospital for a little while, but that stopped my sport. And I wasn't allowed to play rugby anymore. And then I thought, what am I going to do? So that's when I got into the hotels. And my parents emigrated to New Zealand. I stayed in the Isle of Man, and I ran. It was a brand new 5-star hotel, and I was my early 20s, and I didn't know what I knew in a sense. I always worked for my parents, and so I went in there as a simple duty manager of the hotel, and within 12 months, I was the acting manager of the hotel, and I was about 23.
Wow.
Something like that, and I ran that place for about a year, and then I got offered a job in the north of the island, and that was that Laura Ashley designed hotel. And Laura Ashley was this colourful like design.
Fabrics, yeah.
That's
Beautiful,
and
classical English fabric.
absolutely wallpapers and
Mm,
all of that. And I worked with the owner to create this beautiful boutique hotel, and I loved it there, and I ran that for a couple of years, and then my wife and my family all said, let's move to New Zealand. So I came down here and sort of I've never looked back. You know, I think it's a beautiful country, and
yeah,
definitely love the lifestyle, and there's so much to do. And you know, my kids are born here, and of course I'm still here.
yeah. Wow.
And I've only ever been back to the UK once, and that was in 2018 or 19. I think it's around
Right before
then.
COVID.
Yeah, just before, and that was when we won our first award, a recognised award with CPG in the Fable Auckland, which is where you're going to be staying next week. And that's we won the best new boutique hotel in the world, and it was a big. It's
It's
quite
a
a big
huge
thing.
award, huge, especially
Yeah,
with respect for New Zealand. And I've looked
it
at
was
that
the first.
hotel, and it's styled like a London hotel, right?
That's exactly. That's and Renee, that was a big part of you know what I was looking at with Prakash, the owner, when we were. He said to me, right, we're going to do that hotel up. It was the most, when I say politely, shitty hotel that you've ever been in. You know, the beds were like hammocks. You know, it smelled,
Really?
it was old, it was horrible. But that building was one of the first high-rise buildings, and it's only 7 stories in Auckland, and it started its life as a shop. In the ground floor, they had a you know a soda fountain. They had all the kids coming in. It was like a real centre of Auckland City, and this is many years ago, and it's had many different lives. And then Prakash bought the hotel and ran it as a real budget place for a number of years. But then after that, you know, he said to me, come on, we want to do it up. So we started mucking around with the idea of it, and it sort of kept growing. And then
Wow.
how can we create something in New Zealand that's not here? You know, there's the big brands that are all around, the international brands, but what can we do as a New Zealand company? So that's where the theme of you know, the Windsor, the House of Windsor, and the jewels and all of this
Came
from
from.
old King George and Edwards, and out of my side, you know, bringing that English touch to the old traditional boutique hotel, and that's what we wanted to create. So the person at the front door with the top hat and tails, and going back to yesteryear. You know, not many hotels do that anymore.
It's
You know, and
true.
it was bringing that little touch back, and sort of bringing back the I say about the service, but having time to talk to your customers, having
Yes.
time to make them feel relaxed and welcome, and that's really what we've really set that Fable brand all about, is the customer experience, and nothing is too hard, and it's doing extremely well, and it's a
And how many
lovely.
rooms is it for a boutique hotel?
It's 80 rooms.
Because, of
It's
course, there's a massive global trend right now for boutique hotels. I just published a story yesterday on the best boutique hotels in England because we're just getting so much feedback that people, you know, are moving away in some cases from the big chains, and they want that more intimate service that you're describing and that intimate experience and feel of a hotel.
absolutely, Renee. And I tell you know, the history repeats itself in many parts of
Yes.
life. And I remember back to the UK when there was a hotel group, and it was one of the first brands in the world. Hilton was very young in that, and Trust House Forte. And this chap, Alec Forte, he was general manager of a hotel in Italy. And then he got a second hotel. And then he started getting some backing and went into the UK and created Trust House Forte. Trust
Right.
House Sorry?
Right. I don't know it. I don't know it.
Well, it's gone now in a kind of sense. But
Right.
basically, what he did was he created the absolute best brand standard thing you could ever do. Now, as a corporate traveller, you would stay in London, in be it Liverpool, be it Manchester, be it Edinburgh. The hotels were identical. Even down to years ago, you could only get compressed ham in a tin that was a rectangle, and it never fit your sandwich. You always had to cut the end off. So
Hilarious.
got the first sandwich square piece of ham made. And it was all of those things, but it soared. And then after a number of years, it started to fall because the corporates were bored. Because you're
Right.
ordering the same menu in London as Scotland as wherever else.
Well,
And
I just stop you there. What's interesting about that is that Soho House, which comes out of England, is one of the most successful global hotel clubs in existence. And one of their signatures is the same menu. So I've just been in Istanbul, and they've got the same menu in Istanbul as London, which has calamari, all the regulars. But you're saying that people do tire of that.
regular travelers,
Yeah.
if you're just doing the holiday thing and you're going once in a while,
Then it's
that's
fine.
great. But if you're traveling every week, like these corporates are, you get totally bored of it. And
Yes.
that actually was how Best Western hotels
Yes.
were born, because they were a group of around 50 privately owned hotels in England who decided to get together and compete against Trust House 14 because they had all of these corporate contracts and blah.
Right, right.
So that's how Best Western created its privately owned group. And my father's hotel was one of them. And
Right.
when we first started off,
So
and
Best
that was,
Western bought it, did they? Bought that hotel from your dad?
no, they didn't buy it. It was Best Western. In those days it was like a a membership of privately owned hotels. So you
Right.
couldn't be a part of Best Western if you were a brand. You
Okay.
had
Because there's West Western is still big in Asia, in Southeast Asia.
oh, it is, and it is worldwide, but it's
Mm.
changed, in that side. So it's like a little history lesson, as to all of the things. But bringing all of those experiences to New Zealand is really what I've been really enjoying and really trying to grow CPG to being one of the leading groups over here now, and it's been an exciting time. It really exciting.
Fantastic. Well, who
Yeah,
travels to New Zealand now? And what's the main reason that people travel to Auckland or even just New Zealand?
it's yeah, it's a big question. I mean, there are obviously the international tourists, and they're predominantly the American, European. There is a fair bit of from the Asian markets as well, the Japanese, South Vietnam and South Korea, sorry, and China. But you also the Australian market is absolutely huge
Right.
in New Zealand. So there's a lot of people obviously got family here and what have you as well, and vice versa. So there's a lot of
But can I ask you why the Asians coming? Why the South Koreans and the Chinese? Are they just coming for a holiday or are they coming for the nature?
a lot. Both of those. I mean, it's a holiday, yes, but nature. They
Mm.
absolutely love the nature. They love
Yeah.
the birds, the wildlife that is here, and also it is the culture of the Maori way. That they go to the likes of Rotorua, and it's all the thermal, and they really get that feeling of that culture of the
Wow.
history of New Zealand, and it is it makes you tingle every time you hear them, singing the Maori songs and the stories of life as it was here. And so there's a lot of interest in that side, through the country. And Rotorua does that incredibly well. There's a certain amount up here in Auckland,
Yeah.
but here is sort of a bit more, I say, spread its wings a bit. You've got Waiheke Island, which is lovely, a little boat trip.
I'm going to have a look at that.
You are the vineyards that are there, and even the beautiful restaurants over there. And looking back at Auckland across the harbour, it's actually beautiful. It's got its own little sort of kind of microclimate. And then the west of Auckland itself, you've got more vineyards. You've the beautiful rugged beaches of Piha and Muriwai. You know, to walk, even the walks on the sort of the hill ranges there. There's waterfalls. There's everything's really close, and there's lots to do. But you know, I think where the Australian market is starting to change a bit is they're coming over here for the weekends because of the viaduct, and there's beautiful restaurants down there, and it's vibrant and it's alive, you know. And where our hotel is here on Queen Street now, you know, these last 5-10 years, there's been all of the top shops setting up in one little area of Auckland here. So the shopping's great, the food, the drink is great, and now there's a huge amount of good 5-star hotels that have all opened up over the last few years. And
it's really good, isn't it? I've noticed that. There's really, I mean, there are lots to choose from. And I mean, your food and wine culture is globally recognized, particularly, I mean, the wines are on every wine list in the world, particularly Pinot Noir. I'm a favorite. That's one of my favorites. And your Sauv Blancs, they're leading the world now.
They absolutely. And funny enough, you know, that boutique hotel, that Laura Ashley one I had in the Isle of Man there. I remember the first New Zealand wines coming and out of it, all the wines were French and Italian, you know, on the wine list in the UK. And then all the talk was about these real quality New Zealand wines. And I remember then it was like 30, 40 pounds a bottle.
Wow.
And yet the French wines were 20. They were so much more expensive. But it's like what you find over here. No New Zealand wine is bad.
Yeah.
You know, there are just better and better. And it's like I say in Europe, you know, you can get a good one and then you can get a terrible one, you know, on that side.
Yes.
That's why I think overall our quality is really good. And it's like you fly into Blenheim. I mean, it is just amazing to see as far as you can see. It's just vineyard after vineyard and grapes growing. It's a beautiful area, you know. People got
what a business. What a business.
Well, I have done the odd little wine tour.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And they're bloody good fun. You go hire a bike.
Yeah. Oh, good. Cycling.
Because it's all flat and they're all there. And you just go around and it's one heck of a great day out. It really is.
No, it sounds fantastic. I mean, I know even because I have another business that we focus on beauty products. And, you know, I hate to say this about Australia, although Australia has come up in the last 5 years, but prior to that, New Zealand led the way in this part of the world in terms of beauty products. There was always so much, you know, Akoya, I believe, is a brand that came out of there, for example, but there were lots of beautiful, natural, modern, and I could never understand why Australia couldn't match up, you know, but New Zealand really, for a country that has so much less people, a much smaller population rather than Australia, it's quite astonishing what you managed to achieve in multiple areas.
They do, and it's like they started off in their garage or in their, you know, back room, and they start these little businesses, and it's often it's like in the hotels, the toiletries, you know, and the soaps, the shampoos. There are so many local who are making them in some beautiful products,
Yes.
products.
No, it's really interesting. And tell me, what are you doing in terms of wellness within the hotels? Because wellness is such a big global trend. People are stressed. People want to de-stress. What are you seeing in your business in the changes there?
We're definitely working with a few where I say operators. You know, the bit I say a really good one is our Terrace Downs, which is the golf resort near Mount Hutt, and so there's a lot of ski people go there for the ski season. But outside of that, there's the golf. It's a beautiful golf course, and we have 25 villas there. Now we work with there's the Hot Pools and Spa at Matamata, which is only 15 minutes drive away. Now they come to the property and they'll do all of the treatments and what have you there at the property, and it's beautiful. They've got we've actually got the next real big one booked in November. This all these people going for a health wellness 4 days, and the whole place is about eating proper. I say proper, healthier food.
Yeah, cleaner.
And that, I mean, in Fable Auckland, literally a couple of weeks ago, we had a yoga weekend, and all the ladies came and in the conference rooms and having their classes, and of course the food, the matches that goes with it. We're very much about trying to offer where you can be healthy but still have an enjoyable stay in a fine place, and
100%.
not be pressured, on that front.
That's it. And Ronnie, what are the changes that you can see coming? I mean, you're sitting there at the forefront. You've obviously got so much decades of experience in the luxury hotel business. What do you predict we're going to see in the future within this space?
That is one heck of a hard question. I'd say I love it, but I think again, going back to my dear father, he used to say to me, "Son, hotels go through what he used to say is industrial revolutions every so many years." And like when I was first growing up, there were no bathrooms, and you had to share a bathroom down the corridor. It was only really in the 60s that bathrooms started becoming en suite, 70s and more so, and blah. These changes, and then you talk of brand standards and blah. Technology is the one thing that is really trying to advance hotels, and there's a balance there. If you're in more of a budget hotel, you can get away with that more, but you get into the luxury end, I don't think you'll ever lose everything, because people are wanting the service and
That's what they're paying for, and connection. That's what I'm hearing. People want connection.
And they do. They don't want to be a number.
No.
And they want to feel like I am Sam and you're Jane and this is that, and that it is a relaxing home environment. Now, having that, but bringing the technology in to actually make that even easier or better is going to be the art going forward. The technology of your own phone becoming your key and all of these sort of things, there's a lot of gimmicky things there that are not quite ready yet, but it is coming. And I think it's robotics and all of these things, they're all there, but it's I'm trying to launch a new brand in about 3-4 months' time, and it's more of a 3.5 to 4 star, but that's the brand that we're going to be using more technology, more where you talk about the sustainability side of how we're trying to embrace a lot more no paper. So you don't be given a little receipt when you check out. We'll email it to you. It's all of how you change all of these things to
interesting
the environment, on that side, where you can still have everything, but we don't put everything in your room, and you ask for what you want, and so it becomes more bespoke, on that front.
But look, I think bespoke and boutique, they're the two big B words globally that are redefining certainly luxury, hotel stays. But Ronnie, I could speak to you all afternoon, but unfortunately we don't have that time. But I will be able to speak to you in person in Auckland really, really soon. But before we go, we ask all of our guests where to from here for you. And you might want to talk about your next holiday, what you're doing for the rest of the day, or your next project, or anything at all. So where to from here for you?
I really feel I want to get more involved with the whole industry in a sense, and help guide, on those fronts, getting onto the boards and what have you, to really listen to the rest of the market, to actually what problems they're having, to how can you help, be it with the government, be it with other industry leaders, but tourism in New Zealand is so important, and I'm really quite passionate about it.
Brilliant.
With all of my experience and understanding our working regions to cities to big hotels and little hotels, 3 stars to 5 stars, I've had quite a rounded career, and I'd like to put some of my time back to that, to help the industry, and that would tickle me. Although my partner, she wants us to go to Sicily, spend a month over there, and go and hire a nice chalet villa and go and chill for a while.
Why can't you do both?
Well, probably. I'd get into too much trouble if I said no, wouldn't I?
I like your partner already.
No, she's a good lady. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, look, it's really interesting to hear your story. I'm fascinated to see the hotel, this award-winning boutique hotel that is Fable. And I'll see you really soon.
Will do, Renae. Been lovely talking to you.
Absolutely. You too, Ronnie. Thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for regular travel updates. You can also hear our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.